The disastrous decisions of Keir Starmer and his partner in chaos, Rachel Reeves, have plunged Britain into a crisis from which it might not recover. As pensioners face a winter of freezing homes and British territories are handed over to foreign powers, people are beginning to ask, how much longer can Starmer's Labour government survive? From neglecting the vulnerable to betraying British sovereignty, this government has proven to be not only incompetent, but outright dangerous. Before we dive into the explosive details, make sure to subscribe for more updates on the biggest political scandals shaking Britain to its core. Let's begin with the cruel and reckless actions of Rachel Reeves, who is now widely considered the worst Chancellor in recent history. In just a few months, she has put millions of pensioners in an untenable position, forcing them to choose between heating their homes or putting food on the table. With winter approaching, Reeves's decision to cut winter fuel payments has become a national outrage. The elderly and the vulnerable, who depend on this crucial support, are now being left in the cold, quite literally, and experts are warning that many may not survive the winter without adequate heating. What's truly shocking is Reeves's attempt to justify this heartless policy. She claimed that cutting winter fuel payments would save the government a massive £1.4 billion, suggesting that it was a necessary sacrifice. But that was nothing but a lie. The actual savings amount to a pitiful £700 million, a mere fraction of what she originally claimed. Reeves is gambling with the lives of Britain's elderly for pennies while throwing billions at green energy projects, foreign aid and public sector pay rises, many of which are nothing more than empty political gestures. And what about those public sector pay rises? Reeves has funneled taxpayer money into inflating salaries for overpaid public sector workers, many of whom are still threatening to strike again, claiming they didn't get enough. Meanwhile, the most vulnerable in our society are left to suffer. This isn't just a failure of policy, it's a moral failure, and it speaks volumes about where Rachel Reeves's priorities really lie. Let's not forget her arrogance leading up to the election, when Reeves boasted endlessly about her time at the Bank of England as if it made her an expert on running the economy. But what she didn't mention was that she worked in a junior role at the Bank of England before moving on to HBOS, which later became one of the biggest financial disasters in British banking history. HBOS collapsed, and Reeves played a part in it. Is this really the person you want managing the UK economy? Since taking charge, Reeves has done nothing but scare off investors. Over 9,500 of Britain's wealthiest individuals have fled the country, terrified of the crippling taxes and economic instability that Reeves has created. These aren't just any taxpayers. These are the wealth creators, the people who invest in the economy, fund businesses, and create jobs. Their departure will leave a gaping hole in Britain's economic growth, and it's a hole that will be extremely difficult to fill. Let's look at the bigger picture. Just months ago, Britain was leading the G7 as the fastest-growing economy. Today, under Reeves's disastrous policies, the economy has flatlined, and experts are warning that we are just months away from a full-blown recession. It's staggering to think that Reeves has managed to undo so much progress in such a short time. What could have been a period of economic growth and recovery is now a slow-motion train wreck, all thanks to Reeves's incompetence and reckless spending. But while Rachel Reeves is busy pushing the economy to the brink of disaster, Keir Starmer is making sure to do his part by giving away British sovereignty. That's right, Starmer recently agreed to hand over the Chagos Islands to Mauritius, ending 200 years of British control over the territory. And this isn't just any land. It includes Diego Garcia, a critical military base that has been essential to UK and US defence operations for decades. The outrage across Britain has been palpable. Former Prime Minister Boris Johnson was one of the first to voice his anger, calling the decision total nonsense. In an interview with GB News, Johnson didn't hold back, accusing Starmer of betraying British interests. "This is madness," Johnson said. "Diego Garcia is of huge strategic importance. Why are we giving it up? It's a crucial part of the Anglo-American alliance, and now we're handing it over because Keir Starmer wants to look good on the world stage." Many see this as nothing more than a desperate act of political correctness. Starmer seems intent on appeasing the international community, no matter the cost to British sovereignty. Critics argue that by surrendering Diego Garcia, Starmer has weakened the UK's position on the global stage and put the nation's security at risk. Diego Garcia has been a vital outpost for military operations in the Middle East, and its strategic importance cannot be overstated. What's worse is that Starmer's decision has emboldened Britain's enemies. Argentina, sensing weakness, has already renewed its claim to the Falkland Islands. Diana Mondino, Argentina's foreign minister, wasted no time in declaring that her government would take concrete action to reclaim the islands, pointing to Starmer's decision on the Chagos Islands as an example. The UK government has scrambled to reassure the public that the Chagos decision won't affect Britain's stance on the Falklands or Gibraltar, but many are not convinced. After all, by giving up one British territory, Starmer has set a dangerous precedent. What's to stop other foreign powers from making claims on British lands? The governor of the Falklands, Alison Blake, has tried to reassure residents that the situation with the Chagos Islands is entirely different, but the damage is done. The British public no longer has faith that Starmer will defend British sovereignty when it counts. And it's not just the Falklands that are at risk. There's growing concern about the future of Gibraltar, another British overseas territory. With Spain eyeing any opportunity to push its claim over Gibraltar, many Britons fear that Starmer's government won't have the backbone to stand up to foreign threats. While Starmer and Reeves drag Britain through economic chaos and international embarrassment, there's one political party gaining momentum, Reform UK. Under the leadership of Nigel Farage and Ben Habib, Reform UK is quickly becoming a real threat to Labour's dominance. In a shocking victory, Reform UK recently won the Martin Ward seat from Labour in Blackpool, a seat that was previously considered safe for the Labour Party. Ben Habib has wasted no time in going after Keir Starmer, accusing him of being anti-British and warning that Labour's policies are a direct threat to Britain's future. In a heated debate on GB News, Habib didn't hold back. "Starmer is giving away British sovereignty left and right," Habib declared. "He wants to take us back into the European Union, reintroduce freedom of movement, and hand over our borders to Brussels." Political commentator Jonathan Liss tried to defend Starmer, claiming that just because someone disagrees with Habib doesn't make them anti-British, but Habib wasn't having it. "This isn't about disagreement," Habib shot back. "This is about betraying Britain's sovereignty. Starmer is putting the country's future at risk, and that's why people are turning to Reform UK." As Reform UK gains ground, it's becoming increasingly clear that Labour's hold on power is weakening. With Rachel Reeves' economic disasters and Keir Starmer's territorial betrayals, the British public is starting to lose faith in the Labour government's ability to lead the country. With the next general election on the horizon, the question remains, how much longer will the British public allow Starmer and Reeves to inflict damage on the country? As Reform UK continues to surge in popularity, it seems that Labour's days in power might be numbered. But for now, the damage to Britain continues to grow, and Starmer's government seems determined to drag the country down with them.